Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Higurashi Chapter 2. It's your boy Karagol Gaming, and you know how we do things around here. Getting right into it, dude. I knew we wouldn't be doing any club activities after school today before Mion even said anything. Good. I had been invited over by Shion for an all-you-can-eat dessert. I made a point of leaving half my lunch uneaten. My expectations would only be rivaled by my hunger.
ケイチ君、今日はなんだか嬉しそうだね。いいことあるのかな
I guess it was obvious. You can read my mind, doesn't matter, you already know. Rena had questioned me with a happy look. That's right. Why don't I invite Rena for dessert as well? No. If I recall correctly, Shion said something about having a ticket. At worst, the restaurant might be admission by ticket only today. If that was the case, then having Rena be turned away at the door would result in the worst feeling ever.
ちょっとしたラッキーでさ、明日報告してやるよ。レナン、きっと羨ましがるぜ。
なんだろう。いいの。そのラッキーって可愛いかな
Cute? I wonder what Rena would think of the uniforms at Angel Mort. They would definitely be a critical hit.
多分、かなり可愛いかも。
いいの。何かな
Tomorrow, motherfucker.
へえ、どんな幸運に恵まれたのやら。
I don't know, you speak with your sister about everything you probably already know.
あれ？ひょっとして2月くらい前にエンジェルモートで三角くじとか引いた？それに当たった？
おい、俺は2月前にはまだ転校してきてないぞ。
Oh, so in this point in time, he hasn't even been here for 2 months.
ああ、そっか。じゃあエンジェルのデザートフェスタでもないし。
み
Actually,
ーちゃん、エンジェルのデザートフェスタって何かな
ほら、沖宮の駅前の正面にエンジェルモートっていうファミレスがあるじゃない？あそこではね、季節の変わり目に新デザートのお披露目イベントをやるんだよ。それが今日でね。あ、言っても無駄だよ。くじ当選者以外は入店できない貸し切りデーだから。
Mion explained once again what Shion explained to me last night.
レナも今度からお店に通ってみよう。頑張ってくじを当てて次のデザート食べ放題を狙うの。
頑張れ。ちなみに聞いた話だと、当選くじはマニア垂涎のプラチナチケットで、闇では高値で取引されてるなんて噂が。
Hearing that story, I felt even more appreciative of the ticket that Shion had procured for me. I just thought I was lucky to be able to eat dessert for free, but it turned out that the ticket was much more valuable. The number of things I had to thank Shion for had increased yet again.
ありがとな。そんなに価値があるものなんて、俺、全然知らなくて。
I whispered in a voice only Mion could hear. That was how I conveyed my feelings. Mion looked at me for a moment before she tilted her head to the side and smiled confusedly.
何？なんか言った？
It would be a problem if you said something to me right now. That smile seemed to be telling me as much. I guess Mion wouldn't be accepting any gratitude while she was Mion. I'll go to the restaurant. Today, I'll thank Mion while she's Shion.
じゃ、おじさんはこの辺で失礼するわ。今日のバイトはちょっとハードなんだよな。じゃあね。
Mion waved her hand energetically as she left.
ねえケイチ君、
What?
なんだかみーちゃん最近変なの。浮かれてるっていうか嬉しそうっていうか。
そうなのか？
Rena was pretty sharp when it came to these type of things. To me, Mion seemed the same as always, but Rena apparently felt something different.
ケイチ君は知らないのかな、てっきり知ってるのかなって思って。
Rena's skirt fluttered as she spun around with a coy
知
smile.
ってるって、俺が、何を？
I was obviously weaseling my way out of the question, but I wasn't lying. I honestly didn't know what was going on. Why did Shion, a persona of Mion that she had created appear before me. Something was blatantly up, but Rena paid it no heed.
そっか。じゃあ何なんだろうね。でも、みーちゃんが機嫌いいと、レナも嬉しいよ。
Wait, 1 second. I can't see my, Audacity. Hold on, 1 second. Okay, much better.
はう
Oh, really? I wonder what it is then. When Mi-chan is in a good mood, so is Rena. Saying that, she spread her arms wide and spun around happily. I didn't know why, but Rena was in a really good mood. It was so infectious that I had to smile too. Even the chirping of the cicada seemed joyful.
でもね、
Rena abruptly stopped her spinning. Her expression had returned to a more somber one.
みーちゃんね、つい最近ね、すごく傷つけられたの。
傷つけって、え？
The pain that Rena was talking about probably wasn't physical.
はじめは、あまり気にしてないふりをしてたけど、怪我と同じ。だんだん腫れてきた。じんじん腫れてきた。とうとう痛みがこらえられなくなって、夜中に目を覚ました。そして、レナに電話してきたの。みーちゃんは泣いてた。
ごめん。それ、何の話だよ。
何の話？レナは今、何か話をしてたのかな？かな？
What? Interesting. Very interesting. I have no idea yet.
おい、そんなとぼけ方するなよ。今、レナは。
知らない知らない知らない。レナは何も知らないよ。はう。
Rena spun as she laughed innocently. Eventually, she appeared to get sick, stumbling as she steadied herself with her hand against the wall.
目が回って。
バカだな。調子に乗ってぐるぐる回ってるからだよ。
ごめん。
Don't look at me with those dead eyes.
はあ、気持ち悪いかも。
I'll lend the ditz a shoulder to lean on. To be stumbling around like a newborn foal at this age is actually quite a feat. Rena, in a good mood, only babbled incoherently after that. I laughed as I responded to her and chided her. However, the chance to revisit that heavy topic Rena had brought up before never arrived. As soon as I got home, I tossed my school bag and changed in a hurry. The effects of only having a light lunch were starting to show, as my stomach began to let out fickle growls. Alright, let's go to Angel Mort. It's time to face the land of endless dessert. Preparations for battle are complete. Tally-ho! Angel Mort had a decidedly different feel to it compared to yesterday. Dessert food today, admittance only by reservation only. Nonetheless, the front of the store was being swarmed by over a dozen young men. Judging by how they were looking upwards in jealousy instead of entering the store, they weren't invitees. Why would they gather here if they knew they couldn't get in? The black market deals, dog. I found out the answer when I passed through the crowd and began to climb the steps to enter the restaurant.
あんた当選者なのか？
Indeed.
チケットを持ってるのか？
ああ、まあな。ラッキーだったんだ。
As soon as I said that, I was immediately mobbed. It was like being in the middle of a football scrum on a crowded train. What is going on? The reason was this. It wasn't just one ticket per person. One person could let up to 4 people inside.
そうだったのか。ますますレナや他のみんなを誘ってやるべきだった。親切にありがとう。でも今の話は聞かなかったことにするよ。
With an uplifting smile, I turned and ignored them. When I did, their arms reached out at once, like the soul of the damned seeking succor.
その4名様までのお供に ぜひ俺たちを
Sucker? What selfish people. This was the only reason they were crowded in front of a restaurant. Dozens of wretched arms reached out for me like the teeth of a giant rake and grasped at the air. I was already climbing the stairs to the entrance.
なんて身軽なやつ。取り押さえろ。
This isn't something to joke about. I flew up the rest of the stairs and threw myself inside the restaurant. It was like I had entered a different world. The miserable throng of the damned hurled curses at me from the other side of the glass door. But inside of this completely soundproofed and air-conditioned restaurant, with the angelic smile of a waitress to welcome me, they were nothing more than a refreshing piece of scenery. I knew that I shouldn't laugh, but I began to let out a sinister cackle.
いらっしゃいませ。
Karma is a thing, bro. Stop.
エンジェルモートへ本日はデザートフェスタにつきチケットのお客様のみの貸し切りになっております。チケットとご訪問をお伺いしてもよろしいでしょうか。
チケットはないけど名簿に名前があると思います。前原です。
前原あった。失礼ですがフルネームでお伺いしてよろしいですか。
圭一です。前原圭一。
大変失礼いたしました。特別招待の前原圭一様ですね。
Correct.
お席へご案内いたします。どうぞこちらへ。
The mood inside the room was incredibly heated. The booths were packed to the brim. Men in their prime were stuffing their faces with dainty desserts that didn't suit them at all. It was a rather unnerving spectacle, to be honest. Soon after I was shown to my seat, Shion arrived.
いらっしゃいませ。ようこそエンジェルモートへ。
よーしよ。今日は本当にありがとうな。世話になりに来たぜ。
ちょっと遅かったから心配しました。でも来てくれて嬉しいです。
It may have been because other customers were around that her tone was less casual, but she still capped off that welcome with her usual brilliant smile.
見ての通り、今日はお客さんがすっごいんで、定時に抜けさせてもらえるか、ちょっと私の仕事が終わるまでのんびりしててくださいね。終わったら一緒に遊びに行きましょうね。
Whispering just that last part into my ear, Shion winked and returned to the kitchen. Maybe it was because the mood in the restaurant was so heated, but Shion seemed a bit bolder. Even a small change in her mannerisms was enough to set my heart aflutter.
お待たせしました。
While I was overwhelmed by the atmosphere inside the restaurant, orders from the new summer menu were carried out one after another. Every single one was extravagantly huge. I get it. You can eat all of these amazing things for free. No wonder a ticket was worth its weight in gold. On top of that, all of it was plenty delicious. From dishes with a general appeal to insane ones aimed at a specific audience, there were absolutely no gaps in their repertoire.
どう考えても一人で食う量じゃないかもしれないな。まあそれは置いておいて。
It didn't feel relaxing in here at all. Probably because the fervor inside the restaurant was clearly abnormal. All the other booth seats were crammed with groups of 4. Sleazy men were gorging like pigs on cutely decorated desserts, and it wouldn't have been a surprise if they started licking the plates. It was more than a little unsettling. It piqued my interest, so I started to listen in on their conversation, and what things I heard.
エンジェルモード萌え。
僕ですか。当選チケットは秘密ルートから7万で購入したつ。
On redacted auctions, eh?
職場には親戚の葬式でと言ってにゃりんよ。
Jesus.
エンジェルは制服が最高にゃり。
ウェイトレスさん、水とかズボンにこぼしてふきふきとかしてくれないかにゃー。にゃーにゃー。
エンジェルモートのフィギュアが今度発売されるらしいでござるな。次のイベントは要注意でござる。
そうそう、今度大手フィギュアメーカーが商品化を決めたそうであります。発売日は要チェックなのであります。
しかし大人買いするには種類が多すぎるのでごわすな。普通のファミレス制服のフィギュアなら10種類程度でごわすのに、今度のはシークレットポーズ差分込みでざっと100種類。
ダブった時は誰かトレードしてもらいたいでおじゃる。ファンとしては即日コンプはキム。いや、君と僕とのディスティニーでおじゃるよ。
The words spilling out of their mouths were pretty much all incomprehensible jargon. But they still keenly conveyed that hidden behind them was an invisible aura of abnormality.
お待たせしました。次のデザートは南国風シナモンのアバンチュールでございます。どうかなさいましたか？
あ、いえ、なんかこう今日の店内は雰囲気が違うなと。
No fucking shit.
うちのお店、その道の方々にはまあそういう狙いのお店ですからいいんですけどね。でもイベントの日のお客様はちょっと濃いめの方が多いんで困っちゃいます。
The waitress informed me quietly with a wry
な
smile.
んかお客の人たちも血走っててハイエナみたいですよね。今日のお客さんのほとんどはかなり遠方から無理してきてるみたいですからね。そういう方々ってハメを外しやすいんでちょっと怖いんです。ちゃんとガードを固めておかないと大変なんですから。
What did she mean by keep your guard up? At that moment, a large crash resounded through the room. I turned around, startled, to see a waitress had fallen down and spilled the order she was carrying right onto a customer. Wait, isn't that Shion?
すみませんでした。そのお召し物は
なんてことするにゃり。もうジーンズ専門店で1800円もしたズボンが生クリームでベトベトにゃりよ。
What the hell is that? For somebody who just met with disaster, he seems awfully happy.
これはひどいですにょ。ウェイトレスさんが精神誠意ふきふきするしかないでござるにょ。
The conversation suddenly veered off in an odd direction. Hey, what did he say? Wipey wipey? Did he want Shion to wipe him down? Yep. Right over that obviously aberrant tent he had pitched over his crotch?
でもその
ふきふきふきふきふきふき。
Jesus. The wipey wipey chant quickly spread throughout the room. Totally cornered, Shion went pale. She looked over to a more experienced waitress for help, but was only met with a head shaking out of pity.
園崎さん、足を引っ掛けられたんですね。ああやってわざと衣服を汚させて絡んでくるお客が最近多いんですよ。
足を引っ掛けてだって？
Yep, exactly that.
じゃあ今のあれも事故じゃなくて恋？
メインの女の子は十分気をつけてますから絶対ああはならないんですけど、今日のお客様たちにも早々に見破られちゃったみたいで。
店長とかは何やってんだよ。あんな不良な客は追い出せよ。
We're in the service industry, you see, so there's not much we can do about it. She laughed as she said that in a resigned tone. Shion trembled uncontrollably with a dishcloth in her hands as she turned bright red. The man who had been doused in frosting splayed out on the bench, putting the cream-covered tent over his crotch on full display. Still mentally unprepared, her trembling hand inched forward, goaded on by the onlookers.
さあさあ、ふきふきするでござるよ。
From my male point of view, it might have been a ridiculous spectacle I could just smile wryly at, but from a woman's point of view, this was obviously pure humiliation. When I was trapped by those thugs and had been paralyzed with fear, Shion fearlessly stood up to him and saved me. Still, as humiliating as it was, Shion was also partly to blame for this, and it wasn't as though her life was at stake, right? Even these guys, they were just going to jeer at her in a bit of a lewd situation. It's not like they were going to eat Shion alive or anything. It would be alright if I just consoled her afterwards.
私だって怖かったですよ。でも他ならぬケイちゃんのピンチだし、勇気出して頑張りましたってことです。
When I, a man, was being assailed by 3 thugs while paralyzed with fear, Shion saved me without a second thought. What about now? These sleazy, filthy degenerates were trying to pin the blame on Shion. This time, our roles were reversed. Hey Keiichi Maibara, if you don't save her now, when will you be able to repay the debt you owe her, huh? You scared, Keiichi Maibara? At that time, Mion didn't even show a hint of hesitation. Then what about now? I'm not hesitating. Then what? If you're not hesitating, then why aren't you helping her?
さあ観念するでござる。
やかましいぞ重量オーバー。俺の目が黒いうちに出て失せろ。
I grabbed Shion's shoulders firmly and pulled her behind me.
ケイちゃん。
そのスタッフが世のオズボンに粗相したのでござるよ。
Don't yonder me, motherfucker.
お仕置きが必要なのは男なら能書き吐くな。腕で物を言ってみろ。
My body was lifted into the air like nothing. I was thrown right back into my own seat. This guy's strong? No matter how you look at it, Athletic and this Lardo aren't even in the same area code.
オタクは意外にマイナーな武道を得得していることが多いでござるから甘く見ると大変でござるよ。
The man smirked, showing off his gum line.
ケイちゃん、大丈夫？
Damn it! How lame must I look right now?
シオンは足を引っ掛けられたんだろう。向こうが悪いんだから突き上がらせることなんかないぞ。
そうだけど、でもやっぱり悪いのは。
How?
もう一度だ。行くぞー。これくらいでへこたれるケイイチ様だと思う。もう一度だ
ー。
What?
口ほどにもないでござるの。
まだまだ
Rise my will to fight. I can't do that. Not just running, I planted every one of my steps firmly as I closed the distance to the large ball. Each time I ripped my foot off the floor, I could feel my burning spirit flare up from the point of impact. Everything slowed down like I was walking underwater. As I stepped forward in that viscous flow of time, I calmly measured the gap between us. With our difference in height, reach was my ultimate advantage. There was an ever so tiny distance between us where only my punch would be able to reach. I unleashed my iron fist of righteous anger, but it flew towards his face slowly, like I was punching underwater. Reacting to that with a smirk on his face, the fat so easily slipped inside of my punch. I hadn't realized it until now, but in this mired time, I was able to observe his baffling counterattack with almost painful clarity. His arm slowly swung around in a large windmill motion, wrapped around my whiffed punch, and descended in an arc. That arm swung around like arms of a clock, and came into contact with my head, twisting my upper body around. Dragging my head along, he followed through with another rotation. This time, he rotated his entire body like a top, followed by another rotation. Combining defense and offense, it was a brilliant counter. That's right, 3 times. I was thrown after 3 rotations, I think. In this viscous region of time, I was unable to struggle, and I could only wait dumbstruck until the moment I was thrown. The moment I was, that sluggish temporal anomaly abruptly ended.
修行が足りないでござるよ、ヤングメン。
Don't ever call me a young man again, bitch. I was loath to admit it, but against somebody trained in martial arts, I couldn't win through force of will alone. You can't give up though. After my consciousness faded in a wave of dizziness, when I came to, I was lying down in my own seat.
怪我しなくてよかったですね。
The more experienced waitress from before wiped the sweat from my brow with a towel. While she was doing that, a red-faced and teary-eyed Shion trudged over.
大丈夫ですか?
Not 大丈夫ですか?
私なんかのためにすみませんでした。
俺こそ役に立たなくてすまん。俺喧嘩って勝ったことないし。
私のために助けに来てくれただけで嬉しかった。本当ですよ。それだけでも今日はケイちゃんに来てもらえてよかったかなって。
As she said that, she stuck her tongue out teasingly. She wiped off the whipped cream with the washcloth she was holding in her hands.
園崎さん、R 入ってもいいですよ。あと 1,2 時間でしょ。
いいんです。バイトとはいえお給料もらってる身ですから、時間内はちゃんと働きたいんです。だから本当お気遣いなく。
She couldn't even put up a brave front. I would never even think for a second that Mion would be that weak. Could be that weak even. This was Shion, and she had been harassed by some unreasonable riffraff. That was reality.
ケイちゃんは気にしないでデザートいっぱい食べててくださいね。一通り食べ終わったらアンケートを書いてもらいますので。じゃあ私ホールに戻りますね。
After some consoling words and a sympathetic smile to Shion, the other waitress started to head back to work. That's where I stopped her.
すいません、上電話借りたいんですけど。
電話ですか？レジ横にございますよ。ご案内いたします。
I pulled a 10 yen coin from my wallet. This wasn't about saving face. My being a worthless coward was an unchangeable fact, but I could just cry myself to sleep about that later tonight. Now was not the time for tears. I had to fight.
確かチケット1枚で4人まで OK なんですよね。あと3人呼んでもいいんですよね。
ええ、そうですけど。
But we're closing in 10 minutes.
一応名簿に書きますので、お名前を伺ってもよろしいですか？
I need to see if they accept first. I turned around and glared at the greasy hooligan who subjected Shion to that humiliation. There are 3 things that aren't working in your favor today, punk. The first is that I owe Shion. The second is that I'm a man who's not afraid to throw away his pride to win. And the third is that we're the most powerful club members in history.
名簿には竜宮レナ、それから北条聡子、フルで理科で。
Not Mion?
かしこまりました。受けたまわります。
I'll have the best and most powerful club members join the fray. They can bring down 1,000 foes. You fat asses! Prepare to meet your maker!
いいお店だね。
That was swift.
制服かいい。レナも着たい。しかもデザートまでおごってもらえるなんて僕は大感激なのです。
ああ、好きなだけ食ってくれ。俺の分なんか気にするな。
ケイチさん、茶番は結構でございますのよ。要件に入ってほしいですわ。
This is not a trap, relax. Rena and Rika-chan put down their forks when Satoko broached the subject. After looking at them for a few moments, I pressed my forehead firmly into the
頼
table.
む。俺の不甲斐なさを笑ってもいい。力を貸してくれ。
The 3 of them seemed surprised by the sudden turn of events, but nevertheless listened to what I had to say without making fun of my unusual behavior.
どうしたのかな。何があったんだろう、太郎。
実はミオンの妹のシオンがこの店でバイト中なんだ。
ああ、話に聞いてたみーちゃんの妹さんだね。ひょっとしてあれかな。似てるね似てるね。似てるも何も髪を下ろしただけの本人ではありませんの？
I didn't know what to say.
ケイイチがシオンだと言うからシオンなのですよ。いくら双子だってあんなにうり二つになるもんなんですの？一卵性ソーセージって言ってね。
They're what?
本当にそっくりの双子ってこともあるんだって。
Rena gave the most plausible explanation, so everybody else was convinced.
納得してもらえたかな。それで本題だ。
I recounted everything that had just happened. How Shion was targeted, how she was antagonized by the customers, and the humiliation that was forced upon her. Also, how incredibly pathetic I was. I included everything without trying to hide it.
それはひどいね。しーちゃんかわいそう。しかし、それを助けられないなんて、みっともないにも程がありますわよ。
それについては返す言葉がない。
さとこちゃん、負けを認めて助けを求めるのってとっても難しいことなの。ケイチくんは変なプライドなんかよりしーちゃんを助けることを選んだんだよ。ふん、情けないですこと。
Rena's follow-up stung a bit, but I could only be thankful that she understood. Satoko was calling me all sorts of names, but there was no malign intentions behind her words.
で、僕たちは何をするですか?
Her voice was monotone, but there was a hint of resolve in her words. I replied to Rika-chan's suggestive silence in kind with my own quiet resolve.
まあ、そんなところだと思ってましたわ。
We're about to start a food war up in this bitch.
ケイチさん一人には少々荷が重すぎますもの。
じゃあ助けてくれるのか？
当然だよ、ケイチくん。私たちは誰がいじめられても助けに行くよ。
I remembered when I was cornered by those thugs. What Shion had said about the strong feeling of solidarity in Hinamizawa really began to hit home. However, Keiichi Maibara, now is not the time to get choked up with tears of gratitude. Now is the time to fight.
すまん、恩に切る。
一人で頑張ったけど、歯が立たなくてかわいそうです。
Rika-chan gently pat my head for me, but there was no mindless pity in that palm of that hand. It was overflowing with the strong, dependable feeling of leave the rest to us.
もろもろの都合によりミオンは参戦できないので臨時に俺が指揮を取る。作戦内容はシオンの護衛と敵勢力の殲滅。
敵って誰かな？いっぱいいるのかな？
現時刻以降シオンにちょっかいを出そうとする全個人、交戦規定はなし。報酬は今食ったデザート。質問はあるか？
Everybody had already entered club mode, their eyes peering at the riffraff clamoring around inside the restaurant like predators stalking their prey from the darkness. Rika-chan held up her hand.
なんだい、リカちゃん。
手加減は必要ですか？
No.
不要に決まってますわ。ミオさんの妹に狼藉を働く輩に手加減なんか不要ですの。いいんですね、ケイチ。
Rika-chan was serious. Was she really ready to pretty much murder someone? I'm counting on you, Rika-chan.
全責任は俺、前原圭一が取る。
You asked that question now, but...
蹴散らしてやれ
よーし、レナも頑張るぞ。
すまん、よろしく頼む。
ケイチさん、そんなに力まなくても大丈夫ですのよ。
No?
まあ、ご覧あそばせ。ケイチさんがそのパフェを食べ終わる頃にはお掃除は終わってましたよ。ではみんな、頑張りましょうですよ。ファイト、おーです。
Thus, the most powerful war band the world had ever known, trained by Mion, began to move. I was the oldest, the only boy, and behaved like a leader. But when you consider our club activities, I was by far the most junior member. Individually, everyone besides me had terrifying combat capabilities. If all of them combined their strengths to protect Shion, I couldn't even imagine. I was probably about to witness something terrible and awe-inspiring.
園崎さん、7番テーブルにデラックスパフェを5つお願いします。
あ、はい。
Shion carried the order to the tables. For Shion to carry all 5 parfaits without wobbling took so much effort that she didn't have breathing room to pay attention to her feet.
くっくっく、どうしよう、また来たでござるよ。
今度はミーのおズボンにぶっかけさせて一層念入りにふきふきしてもらうにより。
It was the same wipey scheme that had occurred just a short time earlier. This time, another one of them was trying it out for himself. The very depravity of these men was itself a full-out attack.
圭一よりレナへ5、6番テーブル付近で待ち伏せだ。レナ、聞こえてるか？
お店の制服かいいね。
Club mode!
お
Club
持ち
mode!
帰り。
Club mode! Shion, her bottom swaying while carrying the parfaits, was being chased by an equally swaying Rena. She was supposed to be escorting Shion, but Rena was instead transfixed by the back of her uniform. From a normal person's point of view, it was probably like having a fox guard a henhouse. But when it comes to Rena, things are different.
怪異状態、シンクロ率 120%。勝ったな。
あの状態のレナさんには地球上のどんな物理法則も通用しませんわ。
The rest of us probably don't have to do anything. Shion's legs, unsteady and defenseless, were being targeted by those sleazebags.
今でござるよ。どうし
世界の輝ける明星にして偉大なる総統閣下万歳。
What the actual fuck did you just say? A leg snaked out to trip Shion's defenseless feet. Egods! 3 of them at once! It happened in an instant. The 3 fools writhed in pain as their legs bent at unnatural angles.
これは何事でござるか。
Rena teetered into view and gave them a warning.
おいたはダメなんだよ。目だよ、目。レナがお持ち帰りするから目。
この小娘、神妙な技を。
The human scum clutched at their bruised ankles as they passed out.
さすがはレナさん。いつ見ても恐ろしいキレですわね。
ああ、絶対的なガードだ。半径2メートル以内で行われるシオンへのあらゆる攻撃をレナは完全なカウンターで粉砕する。
As Shion was making her rounds through the restaurant, there were people here and there collapsing with welts on their legs or hands.
はうレナよりケイチ君へ。もうしーちゃんにちょっかい出す人はいないよ。だからもうお持ち帰り。
圭一よりレナへご苦労だった。引き続き護衛を続けてくれ。それからお持ち帰りは不可。繰り返す、お持ち帰りは不可。
じゃあ見てるだけだよ、見てるだけ。はう
I guess just looking is fine. That wouldn't prevent her from guarding Shion, so I guess it's okay. Anyway, thanks to this, I knew who had tried to mess with Shion. Anybody who was clutching at her arm or leg while they were writhing in agony was basically branded by their bruises.
現時刻をもって敵勢力識別を完了。次のフェーズへ移行する。圭一より里子へ。そっちはどうなってる？
さとこですわよ。どうなってるとはひどい言い方でございますわね。ケイチさん、私を誰だと思っておいでですの？
Satoko was in the kitchen. What was she doing there? She had spread open a sketch of the restaurant on the counter, replete with ordered chits and their destinations, and was now sorting through the freshly made desserts.
ちょっとさっきから何をしてるの？
Phenomenal question.
まあまあ、その崎さ、いいから彼女に任せておいて。それよりもこのオーダー全部一度に行くからお願いね。
The veteran waitress was briskly directing her juniors as the trays went out one after another. All the desserts that had just passed through Satoko's hands were delivered at once.
かわいいデザートがいっぱい来たよ。
分かってるだろうが手をつけるなよ。自分の身が大事なら。
わかってるけど。
Certainly, they were all incredibly cute-looking desserts. They were all works of art that you could enjoy before even taking your first bite. However, since Satoko had meddled with them, they were nothing more than unpredictable danger. Blissfully ignorant of that fact were the men now stuffing their faces. Almost right away, they realized that something was wrong.
サトコ、
I don't think this is a good look for the restaurant, to be honest.
何を混ぜた？塩やタバスコってわけじゃないだろ。
Laxatives, mate.
あら、ケイチさんが言ったんですのよ。手加減無用って。私、こう見えても叩くときは徹底的に叩く性分でございますの。
As she said that, she twirled a dubious file in her fingers before putting it away smartly into her pouch.
さとこより理解。お客様が行きますわよ。エスコートお願いしますわ。僕にお任せなのです。
Come to think of it, I didn't see Rika-chan anywhere. Where could she be lurking? Clatter, clatter. Several men stood up suddenly from their seats, surveying the restaurant for something. That restless fidgeting, and that look of relief when they found the single placard hanging from the ceiling. Written on that placard was the word restroom. They began a mad rush in that direction. It wasn't just one or two people. All the people who were branded as the enemy were standing up from their seats while clutching their stomachs.
さすがにがっつきすぎたでござるよ。お手洗いはどこでござるか？
僕もニャリーよ。オープンでなくクローズドの方でござる。
Laxatives indeed.
ようリプレイ外しニャリー。
おトイレはどこにゃ？見つけたにゃ。緊急発進スクランブルにょ。
I felt dirty just thinking about what Satoko probably did to their desserts. The problem was how to follow this up. I was intrigued, so I followed the rush of men to the washroom. The narrow hallway connecting to the restroom was crammed with about 10 men.
これは何としたことでござるか。
As I peered over to see what was happening, whoa. It seemed the toilet was clogged and backflowing, unleashed a loud gurgling sound and a terrible stench. There was no way to use it in this state. Damn that Satoko, what a frightening display of power. Nah, this wasn't Satoko's doing. It was divine punishment. Yeah, they were just unlucky. I'll just apologetically ask one of the employees here to clean it up.
これでは尿が出せぬでござる。
When you gotta go, dog.
どうしたものにゃりんか？毎度し。
What's this weeboo shit? It was a brilliant combination of traps, but it would be better if there were one more push to the kicker. Seeing as it was Satoko, she wouldn't have overlooked that.
こうなっては最後の手段にゃ。
Faced with a moral dilemma, that man had one other option: women's restroom.
さすがに女子トイレはまずいでござらんか。
今日のお客さんに女子はいないニャリン。コロンブスの卵でニャリン。
はあはあ、背に腹は変えられぬ。
What a brazen bunch they are. The men, sweat now pouring from their brows, made a mad rush to the girls' room without any hesitation.
Me?
There was a girl in there, and it was Rika-chan. The men stood there, frozen in various complicated poses indicating their surprise. Rika-chan also seemed dumbfounded by the sudden turn of events. But the look on her face was strangely perfect. This was all a part of the plan as well. You sly dog, Rika-chan. I should never underestimate you.
これはでござるな。まだ待て。
Me?
男子便所がちょっとデンジャラスにゃので、ちょっとおトイレをお借りしたかっただけなのにゃ。にゃ。
The fuck?
Me?
でもやっぱりいけないことでござるよな。どうし諸君。
Just by having a girl stand there in the restroom, I never knew it could put up such an overwhelming barrier. There was no way anybody could be brave enough to lift Rika-chan out of the way and try to do their business. This was the most they could do after all. If it were a man in full club mode, for example someone like me, they would plow through Rika-chan without a second thought. Now, what are you gonna do, you fat asses? The price for tormenting Shion still hasn't been paid.
お困りなら僕が助けてあげてもいいのです。
片付けどござるしてその方法は
お外のトイレを使えばいいのです。ご案内しますですよ。
それは助かるにゃりん。さあこのままじゃ集団で不根腕状態にゃりん。
What the fuck? Rika-chan, with a pleasant smile on her face, guided them to a casual stride in her step. In this race against time, her slow pace was, sadistic torture.
マドマーゼル、そのトイレはここから遠いでござるか？
すぐに着きますです。
Obeying Rika-chan's directions, they were about to leave the restaurant.
ケイチ君、締めだよ。ビシッと言ってね。
おうよ、任せておけ。
I spread my arms out and blocked them as they tried to leave the restaurant.
何の真似でござるか？このでっかワの非常時に
悪人ども、この扉から一歩外へ出ることがどう？
それはどういう意味にゃ？
ほら、チケットに書いてあるよ。途中退店無効って。どこのおトイレに行くのも自由でございますがね。その扉を一歩でも外へ出たなら二度と戻れませんのよ。
覚えてろ。
そんな怖いこと言う人たちを案内したくないのです。
Everybody panicked as Rika-chan began to turn back. They could only figuratively and literally fall in line. All the waitresses also lined up to see them off.
本日はご来店
I shall return!
The bell rang playfully as the door shut behind them.
すまないですわね。楽勝の極みで。やったね。
Rena and Satoko clapped their hands together.
ふぅ、俺一人じゃ歯が立たねえ連中もメンバー総登場ならまさに一網打尽だな。
この程度の相手なら私たちなら一人でもお相手できましたよ。ケイチさんも少しは腕をお磨き遊ばせ。
I was loath to admit it, but Satoko was right. Damn it! One day I'll be strong enough to be worthy to stand alongside them.
でもみーちゃんの妹さんを守れて本当に良かったね。もうこれでいたずらする悪い人たちは一人もいなくなったよ。
素敵な友人に恵まれたわね、園崎さん。
The veteran waitress was also smiling. After the herd was sent packing, it had calmed down completely inside the restaurant. Shion was flustered as she glanced between us in the now empty seats.
私のためにその
I mean, you guys could have waited until they filled out the survey. Shion's expression was somewhere between happy and guilt-ridden. Her face had turned slightly red as she ran into the kitchen.
わあ、しーちゃんもかわいい。双子なんだね。はう。
Given Shion's personality, there's no way she would thank us directly. We might have been a bit excessive in our means, but I'm really glad we were able to save her.
分かってると思いますけど、園崎さんとても感謝してますよ。私もホールを代表して感謝いたします。
The applause quickly spread throughout the entire restaurant. Not only the other waitresses, but there were also customers that were genuinely there to enjoy the desserts. Everyone was lauding our efforts. Yeah, they're lauding our efforts until they have to use the bathroom. When we had mostly finished eating and were filling out the survey, Rika-chan made her return.
おう、お疲れ。守備は上々か？ずいぶん遅かったな。
ごめんなさいなので帰りに迷子になってしまって大変だったのです。リカ カちゃんは変な道を通ることが多いからね。よく迷子になるんだよ。
How did she get lost just by guiding people to a nearby toilet? Oh, you poor thing, you thought she guided them to a toilet?
人間誰にも得て増えてがありましたよ。リカにはそんなの負けないような長所がたくさんありますわ。
Look at you sticking up for your friend like that.
それもそうだな。さっきの女子トイレのあの表情、役者だったな。
あの時の圭一はひどいのです。自分が彼らの立場だったら僕を弾き飛ばして女子トイレに飛び込むとか考えていたのです。
Okay, we need to stop with the mind reading shit, okay?
また俺、考えが顔に出てたのか。
圭一くん。
How is that cute?
あ、いや、そら。
I could laugh about it then, but a few days later, a newspaper headline read, 10 unidentified men were taken into custody in Hideyama. The men claimed they had traveled from Shishibone City by foot to find a toilet, but the spot they were taken into custody was X6 kilometers away from Shishibone. When I read that article, I realized how terrifying Rika-chan really was.
さてと、ごちそうさまなのでした。
No worries.
今日は呼んでもらえて嬉しかったのです。あら、もう帰りますの？もうちょっとゆっくりしても。タンスのお片付けの途中だったのですよ。あのままではお布団が敷けないのです。ああ、それもそうですわね。
Oops. Looks like I called her at a bad time.
うん。レナが電話した時はお部屋の片付け中だったんだよ。でも駆けつけてくれたんだよね。まあ、非常時だから仕方ありませんわ。それに、甘いものをいっぱいいっぱい食べさせてもらいましたですから。
今日はありがとな。急に呼び出しちゃって。
シオンによろしくとお伝えなのです。では失礼しますわ。レナさんはどうぞごゆっくり。うん、そうするね。じゃあね。
Rika and Satoko, in a good mood, horsed around with each other as they left. While Rena and I were having a discussion about the dessert we just ate, Shion arrived with some coffee.
あら、ちっちゃい二人は帰っちゃいましたか？
Hearing them called little ones was so strange, I inadvertently burst out laughing.
なんか片付けの途中だったとかで帰っちゃったよ。
Shion had brought enough coffee for 4 people.
先輩に話を聞きました。なんだか私のためにいろいろご迷惑をかけてしまったみたいで。全然迷惑じゃないよ。他ならぬしーちゃんのピンチだしね。あ、いいよね、しーちゃんで。みーちゃんとお揃いで可愛いかなって。あ、まあ、どうぞご自由に。
Shion seemed a bit hesitant when Rena started talking to her. Rena is pretty sharp about some things, so Shion was probably worried that Rena would find out that she was Mion after talking like this. Shion said she would have work soon and hurried back into the kitchen, leaving behind coffee for just the 2 of us. レナにそっけなかった。慣れ慣れしい子だと思われちゃったかな。I mean, you were stalking her pretty badly?
照れてるだけだよ。
でも本当にそっくりだね。双子ってよりも、もう一人のみーちゃんみたいな感じ。
外見は似てるけど、雰囲気っていうか、中身は全然違うだろ。
Their insides are completely different. Well put, you idiot.
そういう双子も面白いと思うけどな。
ケイチくんはそう思う？中身もそっくりだと思うよ。
It somehow became silent. Rena was just staring at the pattern the milk made on the surface of her coffee without saying a word. For somebody like me who could never stop talking, it was a rather uncomfortable moment. Rena's off-put mannerism seemed to imply I said something I shouldn't have. That unpleasantness carried on for a little while.
レナさ、今日言ってたろ。ミオンが傷つけられたなんて話。
そんな話したかな？
だからとぼけるなよ。確かに言ったよ。今日の学校からの帰り道で。
You about to wake up the beast? Don't do it. Rena answered by laughing while continuing to play dumb, questioning if she said that. As thick-headed as I was, I had a faint realization. Rena wanted to say that I was the one who hurt Mion. But when? Me?
もし仮にそういうことがあったとしても、それは俺には悪意はなかったんだよ。
I continued the conversation but left out the assumption that I had hurt Mion.
きっとそうだと思う。ケイチ君に悪気はなかったと思うな。
Rena replied, also leaving out the assumption that I had hurt Mion. But that confirmed it. I don't know how it happened, but it seemed that I had hurt Mion. And Rena was upset with me due to the fact that I hadn't realized it.
誤解しないでほしいんだけど、別にレナは怒ってるわけじゃないよ。
Seeing right through what I was thinking, Rena said that as she smiled even more gently than usual.
ただなんていうのかな。難しいなって。
俺に落ち度があるなら、はっきりそうだと言ってくれないか。俺は自分でも呆れるほど鈍感なんだ。謝るべきことがあるなら、少しでも早くそれに気づいて謝罪したいと思ってる。
別にケイチ君に落ち度なんかなかったと思うよ。考えようによってはずるいのはみーちゃんの方なのかもしれないし、ずるいのが女の子だって居直るのもまたずるい気がするし。
Taking the stance that the girl was the one being unfair might be unfair in itself. What? What Rena said was draped in mystery. Unfortunately, I had no idea what she meant. Is she mad that I am getting closer to her sister? The only thing I got out of it was that I had said or done something inadvertently to hurt me.
頼むよ、レナ。ミオンは俺の最高の仲間の一人だ。遺恨を残してなんか付き合いたくない。
She's in top 5, isn't she?
だから教えてくれよ。俺は何を傷つけてしまったんだ？
ダメだよ。こういうのは自分で気づかなきゃ。
Rena was smiling like she always did, but spoke bluntly. The fact that she had this strength of will surprised me for a moment.
それに気づけないから、こうして頼んでるんだろ。
My tone had unintentionally become harsh. Rena was also surprised for a moment, but quickly returned to her flat demeanor.
じゃあヒントだけならいいかな。特別なんだよ。
すまん、頼む。ちゃんと考えるから。
Rena looked around the restaurant searching for Shion. Shion was working enthusiastically but without confidence as usual.
しーちゃん、髪の毛を上げて結んだらみーちゃんと見分けつかなくなるんだろうね。
うん、そうだな。
じゃあさ、みーちゃんが髪をほどいたらやっぱりしーちゃんと見分けがつかなくなるのかな。
Yep.
多分な。でもそれとこれと何の関係があるんだよ。
もしもだよ、双子の妹なんて話は嘘で、あれは妹のふりをしてるみーちゃんだったらどう思う？
Rena was sharper than her daily behavior belied. I was hesitant in verbally affirming that, but it was the right answer.
質問に質問で返すようで悪いけどさ、レナの言う通り、ミオンがシオンのふりをしていたとして、それは何のためだよ。
After maintaining the silence for a while, Rena glanced at the clock.
そこを考えてほしいな。ヒントにしては多すぎかも。は
あ。After thanking me for the dessert, Rena stood up from her seat.
ごめんね。頼まれてるお買い物があるからそろそろ帰るね。 しーちゃんには挨拶もせずに先に帰っちゃってごめんって伝えておいてもらえるかな。
ああ、伝えておく。
ごめんね。
え？
レナって怒りんぼなの。怒ってごめんね。ケイチくんだけが悪いわけでもないのに。
Rena was harsh in her apology, but I was the one who really should have apologized.
みーちゃんだってもうそんなに気にしてないことだと思うの。だからなかったことにして忘れちゃってもいいと思うんだけど。でもね、同じ女の子としてはケイチくんに自分で気づいて自分で謝りに来てほしいなって夢を見ちゃうの。
Switching to cute mode only at the end, she disappeared in the direction of the register. While I was staring into space, somebody suddenly tapped me on the shoulder.
お待たせしました。
No worries.
やっと終わりました。
It was Shion, who had changed into her street clothes. She flashed a smile while greeting me.
今日は本当にありがとな。
Do you think it was her?
どれもすごい美味しかった。みんなも喜んでたよ。
いえいえ、そんな。でも喜んでもらえて嬉しかったです。あれ？さっきの女の人も帰っちゃったんですか？
買い物があるって言って帰ったよ。先に帰って申し訳ないって伝えておいてくれって。
そうですか。じゃあ私たちも表に行きません？
Let's.
たとえオフでもバイト先は緊張しちゃいますから。
We ended up strolling around without any destination in particular. I had been sitting here the entire time, so I was in need of a breath of fresh air. When we left, the sky had already become draped in a veil of darkness.
なんだか暗くなってきちゃいましたね。もっと早めに終わらせてもらえる約束だったのに。
Shion seemed upset that there wasn't much time left.
でもいいかな。ちょっとでもこうしてのんびりお話できる時間が取れたから。
Shion set out for the tree-lined boulevard behind the station. The front of the station was slowly becoming crowded with businessmen heading home.
さて、自己紹介からしようかな。初対面はいきなりお姉と間違えられるという衝撃的な出会いだけで、互いに挨拶もしてないですからね。
I could only smile and laugh wryly.
私、園崎しおんと申します。お姉と似てるのは外見だけなんですよ。お姉は大雑把で暑苦しい人なんだけど、私は几帳面だけど涼しい人なんです。
Someone describing themselves as composed and methodical is scary in itself. Is it just me? I remembered what Rena and I had been talking about earlier. I said that they looked the same, but their personalities were different, while Rena said they were both the same. I don't know what tipped her off, but Rena figured out that Shion was Mion, and Mion was Shion. Also related to that, she said that I hurt Mion, which in turn means that I hurt Shion as well. Rena had given only one hint. That was, why is Mion pretending to be Shion?
シオンは俺のことミオンからなんて聞いてるんだ？
お姉はケイちゃんのことお気に入りみたいですから、饒舌にいろいろと喋ってくれますよ。
Oh yeah?
部活の話とか、やられたとかやり返したとか、そんな男の子みたいな話ばかりです。本当に仲がいいんですね。
Go on. Boyish kind of stories, huh? Come to think of it, there was something Shion told me before. Kei-chan, you don't think of my sister as a girl, do you? Was that what happened that hurt Mion? Mion herself said that she wished she'd been born a boy, and that being a girl didn't suit her. She said a lot of things to that effect, didn't she?
ケイちゃん、さっきからなんだか楽しくなさそうですけど。
いや、そんなことないよ。
I'm having a terrible time.
隠し事が下手なくせに嘘つこうとするんですよね。だから憎めないんですけど。
Saying that, she lightly chopped my forehead. Even though Shion was enjoying herself, I was still trying to figure out how I had hurt Neon. I was having a hard time figuring out the riddle that Rena had left me with.
ほら、あれ、綺麗だと思いません？男の子でも綺麗に感じます？
へえ、綺麗だな。
What? Shion was having fun window shopping, dragging me by all sorts of stores I would never ever enter. It wasn't like she was begging me to buy her anything, and I wasn't getting bored either. It was just something to talk about as we walked around. In an easygoing way, we browsed through numerous stores. We discussed all sorts of topics I knew nothing about, but I did not lose interest. I had the feeling that she was good at conversation.
ケイちゃんってこういうの初めてですか？
I was about to say, like, is that a fucking little bulge right there?
ああ、初めてだよ。こんな小物のお店なんか、こうして連れてきてもらわなかったら一生入らなかったな。
Is she truly an old man?
そういうのじゃなくて、こういう感じの。
Hold on, motherfucker, define this. I leapt back when Shion suddenly linked her arm with mine.
そんなに驚かなくてもいいじゃないですか。
Or disgusted?
女の子と腕を組むくらい、そんなに恥ずかしいことなんですか？
Shion's expression was a little miffed, but suggestive at the same time.
別に恥ずかしくなんかねえよ。腕が欲しけりゃ1本でも2本でもくれてやるよ。ほら。
ケイちゃんって本当に退屈しない人ですね。お姉のお気に入りってのもよくわかります。
いらねえなら引っ込めるぞ、腕。
そんな喜んで拝借いたしますわ。
Laughing in good spirits, Shion locked arm with mine. My heart skipped a beat.
反応を楽しみたいんで意地悪に質問しますけど、ケイちゃん、女の子と腕組んだことあります？林間学校のキャンプファイヤーでってのはなしでです。
Around a bonfire at a field trip. What? That little devil! She was asking that question knowing full well what the answer would be.
林間学校を封じられると辛いな。
そうだと思いました。
そのいたずらっぽい笑い方、お前本当にシオンなんだろうな。ニオンがシオンだって嘘をついてるんじゃないのか？
お姉がシオンのふりをしてるかもしれないって
さっきまでは双子だと思ってたが、悪ふざけの仕方がミオンとそっくりすぎるからな。
口ではそんなこと言ってますけど、ケイちゃんはちゃんと私とお姉を区別してますよ。
区別ってなんだよ。
お姉がこうやって腕を取ってきたら、ケイちゃんドキドキしますか？
する。関節技でもかけられるんじゃないかと思ってビクビクする。
Shion laughed so hard she had to hold on to her side.
おいおい、そんなにおかしいことかよ。肩腹を押さえて涙溜めるくらいに。
いえいえ、お姉ってしょうがないなって思ったんです。年頃の男の子と腕を組んで心臓を高鳴らすこともできないなんて、本当に女の子失格ですよね。
I remembered once again that I had heard someone say that before.
お姉は男の子に生まれた方が良かったんじゃないかなって思うことありますよ。そしたら私も惚れてるかもな。なんちゃって
ミオンも男の子に生まれたかったなんて言ってたな。
お姉は女の子がしたいのか男の子がしたいのか、まあ不吉祥な生き方のツケですからね。放っておいてあげてください。
さっきから実の姉に随分な言い方だな。
私ミオンのどことなく甘えたところ好きじゃないんです。
What? The way that Shion talks somehow sounded cold.
シオンってミオンとあんまり仲良くないのか？
まあそこそこは仲良くやってます。でも姉妹として許せないなってところはいろいろありますよ。
Like what?
あれ見てください。可愛いと思いません？
I turned around to look at where Shion was pointing. What was there was the familiar display window of a toy shop. The same shop that was the stage for the incident that occurred last Sunday's club activities. What incident? What Shion was pointing at was a display with a plethora of adorable dolls that looked like the sort of girls would like.
女の子ってどうしてこういうのが好きなのかな。
だって可愛いじゃないですか。ケイちゃんは可愛いって思いませんか？
俺は男だから特にそういうのは感じないよ。
まあまあ、ケイちゃんはこの中で一番可愛いのはどれだと思います？
Shion, pulling my arm, motioned to the row of dolls. They were lined up like they were close sisters taking a commemorative photo. A few of them seemed strangely familiar.
こっち側に並んでる4つは見覚えがあるな。
やっぱり有名なんですね。ケイちゃんでも知ってるくらいだから。
Shion sounded impressed.
最近イギリスから入ってきたばかりの新作なんですよ。この辺ではまだ売ってますけど、都市部の方じゃ品切れ状態で安さがポイントのはずなのに変に高騰しちゃってるそうですよ。
女の子っていい年になってもこういうのが好きなんだな。
人にもよるでしょうけど、人形とかぬいぐるみとかを嫌いな女の子ってそんなにいないと思いますよ。あの男女のお姉ですら可愛いって言ってましたから。
へえ、ミオンも可愛いって言うのか。そりゃすごいことだな。
That's right, I just remembered. The store owner gave this one to us after Sunday's event. Except for Mion, who was a relative, everybody had gotten something.
やっぱりあれが一番ですよね。
That's where we hurt her? Are you serious? When we chose to give the figurine to Rena instead of Mion, that's what hurt her?
ドレスの
She did
ふわ
look
ふわ
quite
な
hurt,
感
to
じ
be
が
honest.
本当に。
それだ、この店のマスターに俺がもらったやつだ。
らしいですね。
Shion replied softly, but clearly.
吉郎おじさんが日曜日のイベントを盛り上げてくれたお礼にって、お姉が連れてきた友達4人に配ったんだそうです。ドレスの人形はケイちゃんがもらったんですね。どうでしたか？とっても可愛かったでしょ？
As a man, there's no way I would think it was cute.
じゃあその人形どうしちゃったんですか？
Yes, yes, yes.
持っててもしょうがないからあげちゃったよ。
As Shion laughed, I could hear an audible click run through the back of my mind, like the piece of a jigsaw puzzle snapping into place.
今日はみんな本当にありがとう。おかげでイベントは大盛り上がりだったよ。大したものじゃないけど、これ今日のおだちんに。
あ、吉郎おじさん、私にはないの？おだちん。
可愛いのが出てきましたわよ。
Once Satoko and Rika-chan opened up the bag, there were cute little stuffed animals inside.
わあ、これ可愛い。お持ち帰りしていいの？本当に？
ってことは俺のもかな。なんだかやたら可愛いのが出てきたぞ。
So you did think it was adorable. It was a stuffed toy wearing a beautiful dress, one you would use to play house. Rena's eyes were glued to my stuffed doll. Satoko was the same, and Rika-chan too? I see. It wasn't just Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan. There was one other person who seemed jealous.
ケイちゃんには一番似合わないのが出てきちゃったね。
Not wanting for her expression to give it away, she had said that to hide her
なん
embarrassment.
つうのか、プリティっていうかキュートっていうか、可愛いのは認めるんだが、着せ替え人形はちょっとな。
ケイちゃんが持ってたら確実に明日からアレな趣味の人扱いだね。うん。
Mion's usual teasing way of talking. I looked around to see who I should give the doll to. Mion was right in front of me. Mion was the only one who hadn't received a present, so I thought about giving it to her. But I did not. See?
くれるの？レナに？ありがとう。
Turning away from Mion's covetous gaze, I gave the doll to Rena. Mion's smile bore into my back. There was no way I couldn't have noticed. Why did I not give it to Mion? Since Mion was the only one who didn't get anything, wouldn't it have just been a standard practice to give it to her? At that time, I had noticed that something was wrong. That's why I said it.
保身のためだよ。レナにあげないと夜道が怖い。
違いない違いない。
ミオンにあげようかと思ったけど、ちょっと違うよな。
Something dark flickered briefly in Mion's eyes, but at the time I didn't notice it. I had thought to give it to Mion, why didn't I?
へへへへ、わかってるじゃない。私さ、どうして男に生まれなかったのかなって思う時あるよ。
Mion herself has said that with a laugh, so I didn't realize that I had hurt her.
そうだな。ミオンってかっこいい系の方が似合うやつだもんな。だからこの店の手伝いはシオンちゃんが来て正解だったと思うぜ。
Huh? Shion asked, probably thinking she misheard me.
その制服、ミオンなんかには絶対に似合わないと思うけど、シオンちゃんにはよく似合ってると思うしさ。
それって、
Shion, like Rena often does, spaced out and turned bright red. Mion seemed really happy. She seemed happy that I complimented Shion. Saying that it didn't suit Mion but it suited Shion. Saying that it suited her seemed to make her happy.
ミオンの双子の妹なんだよ。性格は違うけど、外見は瓜二つなんだ。
そうそう。外見は似てるけど中身は大違いなんだよ。私は優しくて思慮深いけど、シオンは冷めてておっかない性格なんだよね。
多分、生まれた時に、ミオンの女の子らしい部分は、全部シオンに行っちゃったんだと思う。ミオンと違って、実にはにかんだ笑顔の似合う、可愛い女の子なんだ。
Mion made a strange face that was both angry and happy at the same time. It seems that she was happy that I said Shion was cute. Sneaking a look inside the box, to say that she just put some of the leftovers inside would have been a lie. There was an elegant meal stuffed inside.
本当にいいのか？これ、タバスコとかがいっぱい入ってるとか、そういう冗談じゃないのかよ。
もう、お姉じゃないんですから、私そんなことしませんよ。別に嫌なら無理しなくても、帰って自分で食べちゃいますから。
I'm not my sister. That was how she said it. Shion was insistent that she wasn't Mion. She was saying that she was Shion, and that I shouldn't think of her as Mion. When Mion was Shion, it carried a special meaning.
みーちゃんって不思議でしょ？女の子なんだけど、男の子みたいっていうか。
That's what Rena said.
でもね、そんなみーちゃんも、本当はすっごく女の子らしいんだよ。
レナ、お前、ミオンにいくらもらったんだよ。
違うの。もう、ちゃんとした話をしてるんだよ。
Rena began to pout. Now probably wasn't the right time to joke around.
みーちゃんは部活の部長さんだから、みんなのリーダーとして頑張ってるけど、本当はとっても可愛い女の子なんだよ。それ、特に圭一くんには忘れてほしくないな。
There never was a riddle to begin with. Rena was saying the answer right from the beginning.
それで、もう私、何が何だか、
うん。
ケイちゃんに悪気がなかったのは分かってる。分かってるつもり。
うん。ケイチくんは人を傷つけるような人じゃないよ。だから、みーちゃんが痛みを覚える必要なんか全然ないんだよ。
じゃあ、何なんだろうね。悔しいのか。それとも悲しいのか。
欲しかった？あのお人形。レナがもらったのをあげても何にも解決にならないもんね。
Nope, she wanted Kate to give it to her.
そうだね。
じゃあみーちゃん、ケイチくんにおねだりしてごらんよ。正面からぶつかってみた方が結構解決できるかもしれないよ。
そんなのできるわけないじゃない。
Then do it as Shion.
今さら恥ずかしくてできない？
ミオンじゃない私でもう一回やり直したい。そうしたら今度はもっと素直になりたい。ミオンとしてのケイちゃんとの関係はとても気に入ってるよ。わがままだと知ってるけど、もう一回。
きっと気づいてくれるよ、ケイ。
そうかな。
レナも応援するから。みーちゃんの悲しみが軽くなる方法を探してみようよ。私を信じて。みーちゃんを泣かせたりなんか絶対にさせないから。
信じる。信じる。
きっとケイチくんはみーちゃんのこともわかってくれるよ。それでね、無神経なことを言ってごめんねって言って、あのお店にみーちゃんを連れて行って、
うん。
そうしたら、みーちゃんもありがとうって言うんだよ。茶化しちゃダメだよ。素直に言うんだからね。
欲しいなって言ったら、ケイちゃん、買ってくれます？
Mi answered quietly, doing her best to quell her embarrassment. I would have reflexively begun to lightly tease her to hide my embarrassment, but like Mion, I quelled that impulse.
いいよ、ミオン。今日までのお礼ってことで、どれでも買ってやるよ。
My voice cracked with the unfamiliar words. In order not to lose Mion trying her best, I tried my best as well.
だから私、ミオンじゃなくてシオン。
じゃあ、シオンに買ってやるよ。
Shion looked down, red-faced. She pointed at the doll in the dress through the store window.
本当にいいんですか？あのドレスのだけはちょっぴり高いんですよ。
値段の問題じゃないだろう。気持ちの問題だよ。
私、今日はケイちゃんに嫌なお客さんから助けてもらえて、先輩たちもみんな助けてくれなかったのに、ケイちゃんだけは助けてくれました。私の肩をグイって引っ張ってくれましたよね。あの時、すごくかっこよかったです。なのに私、恥ずかしくって、ちゃんとしたお礼もできなくって。
I clapped my hand down on Shion's head and ruffled her hair roughly. Like how I would do to Rena and the others. When I did that, Shion, like Rena would have, spaced out and blushed slightly.
そんな難しいのは抜きでいいよ。あの時、あげてればよかったんだ。そうすれば、みんな楽しく笑ってられたんだ。
Shion didn't respond. She had turned bright red, like she was trying to hold back both laughter and tears.
今買ってくれよ。そこで待ってろよ。
私も一緒に行きます。
Saying that, she grabbed my arm once again. She wasn't trying to be stoic anymore.
お姉がどうしてケイちゃんのことを好きなのか。ねえ、ケイちゃんのことちょっぴり好きになってもいいですか？
The unfamiliar situation made my head start to spin. Oh, what am I doing? I had reached my limit. Smiling wryly to hide my embarrassment, I dragged Shion into the store with me.
すみません。表のショーウィンドウにあるドレスの人形が欲しいんですけど。
After a moment, I heard a voice of acknowledgement, and an apron-clad employee soon appeared.
ケイちゃん
What the actual fuck?
それになんであんたがここにいるの？バイト中のお姉には関係ありません。私、ケイちゃんとデート中なんですから。なんだケイちゃん。
Why would you do this to your sister? Even if you ask why, I would like to know the answer myself. Mion looked at me with an expression of confusion and surprise. But that was the same with me. If she was there, then who was next to me?
最初からそうだって言ってますよ。園崎シオンです。お姉の双子の妹ですよ。ケイちゃんだって私のことシオンって呼んでたじゃないですか。
Shion, saying that, pouted cutely.
どういうことなの？説明してよ、シオン。別にお姉がご就寝のケイちゃんってどんな人なのかなって思って、デザートフェスタのチケットを都合してあげたんです。そしたらケイちゃん、私が嫌なお客さんに絡まれているところにさっそうと現れて、バッタバッタとなぎ倒して私を助けてくれて、ポッ。
Both Mion and I raised our voices pathetically, expressing our confusion to the utmost.
ミオンが電話をくれたろ昨日さ。
しないよ私。何のことか全然わかんない。私、ケイちゃんのためにお弁当を届けてあげたよね。あれは私だもんね。それともあれ、お姉だったの？
What?
園崎ミヨンともあろうお方が手作り弁当を作って男の子の家に海外しく届けに行ったと？へえ、お姉って見かけによらず大胆。
With a loud pop, a trail of smoke began to raise from Mion's head.
いや知らない。ほらねケイちゃん、お姉は知らないって。だから昨日までのは全部私、園崎シオンなの。私のふりをしたお姉かもしれないって思ってたかもしれないけど、これで疑いは晴れたでしょ？
I couldn't tell up from down at that moment. If there was a mirror around, I would have seen my eyes go wide from the shock.
さあ店員さん、表のショーケースの人形包んでくださいね。大好きになった人からの初めてのプレゼントだから、ちゃんとリボン付きで梱包してほしいです。
Jesus Christ. Mion, completely flustered, was being cornered by a sly-faced Shion. My brain had stopped working.
そんな、ケイちゃん、何がどうなって。
We're in the same boat.
じゃあ行こう。ケイちゃん、もう暗くなってきたからお家まで送ってあげるね。おねえ、悪いけど沖宮の家に電話して車を回すように言ってもらえる？自転車も積めるようにワゴンか何かで来てほしいって伝えてね。
What? In contrast to Shion, who had glee written all over her face, Mion was an empty shell and looked like she would bust into tears at any moment.
ケイちゃん。
After that, Mion's grumblings were unrelenting. Huh. Now, could this be the end of the chapter? Because this is a very long episode, and it's gonna be slightly longer. It hasn't been long enough, apparently. Let's see it.
だから初めましてじゃないですって。昨日まで毎日お会いしてたじゃないですか。
もういい。お前がそうだって言うならそういうことでいい。
Someone from Shion's house came to get me in a station wagon. I had initially refused, but Shion insisted, and so both my bicycle and I ended up stuffed in the car. Again, Oishi's car. Said car was currently driving across the single bumpy road leading to Hinamizawa. For goodness sake, Shion was at Mion's level at least, and maybe an even better actor. Either way, no matter what questions I pressed her with, she would slip out of them like an eel.
しかし、そっくりだな。ミオンみたいに髪を後ろで結んだら、やっぱりミオンそっくりになるのか？
さあ、試せばそうなるんじゃないですか。私たち筋金入りの一卵性ですから。昔は服を取り替えっこしただけで誰も見破れなかったものです。お姉と一緒に断るごとに入れ替わっていろいろと騙したりしましたっけ。
The middle-aged driver wearing a black suit heaved a heavy sigh like he were a butler.
なあにかさい、その深いため息は。
失礼しました。昔から変わられないなと思っただけですよ。
You could see many years of hardship on the man's face through the rearview mirror.
それより、ケイちゃんの家ってこっちでいいんですか？葛西は園崎本家の道以外はひなみ沢をよく知らないから、任せておくと矢後内あたりまで走ってっちゃいますよ。
そりゃ困る。すみません。次の右に入る細い道のところで止めてください。そこまでで結構です。
He stopped the car at the desired place. The driver Kasai-san got my bike out of the trunk for me.
あ、どうもすみません。今日は送ってもらってありがとうございます。
圭一さんでしたか、お名前。
Looks like a fucking bad guy through and through, dude. What the hell?
あ、はい。
いろいろと災難はあると思いますが、そのうち飽きると思いますので、どうかそれまでご辛抱ください。
He gave me a deep, deep look of sympathy. This guy has definitely been dealing with the Sonozaki sisters ever since they were little kids.
ですが、ミオンさんと同じで、根は優しい方なんですよ。
それはつまり、ミオン並みに迷惑をかけるやつだということですか。
The man's face froze in a smile, his reply lost. Hey, pack me up here.
じゃあね、ケイちゃん。また会いましょうね。お姉にもよろしくお伝えください。私も明日からひなみ沢の学校に通おうかな。
Oh, please no.
絶対に来るな。シオンが転校してきたら、俺が沖宮の学校に転校するから。
それはすごくひどいことですよ、ケイちゃん。
I'm a mean motherfucker. A short beep of the horn. The man gave a little wave to me from the driver's seat. Then, the car withdrew into the dark night roads, leaving dust in its wake. Man, this entire day made zero sense. I ran into Mion while I was with Shion, and the former's expression, like a pigeon shot with a pellet gun, had finally begun to make a strong impression on me. And it is finally time to call it an episode. And this was almost 2 episodes in one, goddammit. But we're gonna try to do it this way. 1 chapter per episode, alright? I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'll see you guys next episode. I'm out of here. Love y'all and deuces.